Hello, hello.
Good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad you joined us.
Yes.
We're so excited about what we're having this evening. I'm Dr. Joe.
And I'm Pastor Greg.
Yeah, we are senior pastors at University Ministries International, and we are super excited about this evening and the event that we have going on. So this is a COVID TKO, stands for COVID Knockout. We are trying to knock out COVID-19, knock out the myths, knock out the disease itself. And so that's what we're here for this evening, to really just talk about COVID-19, understand what's going on, and we have a line up for you.
It's going to be wonderful. We have some wonderful panelists that's going to be talking about the vaccine, talking about myths, talking about misconceptions. It's going to be wonderful as we engage and have a good, meaningful conversation just about this age and season that we're in. You know, COVID has affected and touched probably everybody in some way, form, or fashion, be it, time away from the job, or working from home, or even having people that are impacted physically, mentally, all different types of ways. So these types of discussions are very important as we move forward in our society.
Amen. Yeah. And, it's so, some people have even lost loved ones to COVID-19. I know we've had close people in our family or friends that have lost people to COVID-19. So not only is it an important thing for me as a healthcare provider, but just as a person who cares about other people, and as pastors and ministers, we care about the whole man, healing the whole man. So we definitely wanted to provide this opportunity to share with you. This event is being sponsored by the Leon County COVID-19 Task Force, and we are so grateful for the mini grant to be able to share, with you all about this. And we're so grateful for our speakers. So without further ado, we want to introduce them. But before we do that, I do just want to announce that after we do our Q&A this evening, we want you to prepare or go to our website, covidtko.com, and sign up to show up on Saturday for a vaccine. We really want you to think about that. Sign up for a vaccine, or if you don't want to sign up, just show up for a vaccine. We've partnered with the Florida Department of Health, and we're very happy about that partnership. They will be there providing the J&J vaccine, or if you prefer, the Pfizer vaccine. And we know we're going to learn so much tonight about the benefits of both of those vaccines. They both work really well, and they're both good options for everyone. So that's going to be from 9 to 2 on Saturday, May the 15th, at University Ministries, 2640 Old Bainbridge Road. You can see the information right there, May 15th. You can sign up at the website, covidtko.com. And if you don't want to sign up and just show up, you can show up. Please, please, please share. The other thing we're excited about is that Second Harvest is partnered with us. So Second Harvest will be there from 9 to 12. Even if you don't want a vaccine, please come out, get some food, some good, delicious food, nutritious food for your bodies. We have free giveaways. We're going to have mental health resources, and the option, if you desire to join in a coping with COVID-19 session virtually at 4 p.m. that same day. So just wanted to put that out there at the very beginning. We're going to bring this information back to you, but wanted to share that early on. So listen, if you have not shared this broadcast yet, please share. Go ahead and tag somebody. It's going to be so good. And you couldn't pay for this. Well, you could pay for it, but you don't have to. So go ahead and just join us. I just want to introduce our speakers. We have several beautiful speakers, very talented, well-educated, and they're going to share a lot of good information with you. So I have Dr. Temple Robinson, who is our CEO of Bond Community Health Center. She's going to sort of bring our opening keynote address for a few minutes, and then we're going to have some wonderful people share after her. So Miss Shannon Clement, who's the Executive Administrator of Bond Community Health Center, she and her grandmother, Judy Hickson, will be sharing, and they're going to give a perspective of what it's like as a young adult and as a senior person, as a parent, as a grandparent, as a mother, what that's like to experience the COVID-19 vaccine, as well as Mr. Christopher Jones, who's the IT administrator at Bond Community Health Center Incorporated. He's going to share his perspective as a young adult, what that's like. Hey, why as young people do we need to be thinking about that? Yes, I included myself in that young people category, but listen, people that are younger than me, younger than him, we need to think about getting the vaccine, and he'll talk to you about why that's important and from his perspective and his experience. Then we have Mother Janice Stanley, who I have known since I was a little kid. I'm so honored to have her sharing. She's an LPN at Bond Community Health Center, and she's going to share the senior perspective. She's going to give us some wisdom, that we can grow from as well. And our last speaker is going to be Dr. Daquan Harrison, who's a pharmacist, from Bond Community Health Center. So listen, if you needed to know anything about the vaccine, why, what, when, where, who, all that stuff, he is going to share that information with you. So we are super excited. Yes. So without further ado, oh, and one more thing before Dr. Robinson comes up, if you have questions, so this is supposed to be an interactive session. If you have questions, please put it in the chat. We'll get your questions answered, as many as we can. We'll get them up there. Don't be shy. No questions, a bad question. We're looking forward to everything that people have to share, as well as talk about and experience on this evening. Yes. So without further ado, we'd like to welcome Dr. Temple Robinson.
Yes.
Hello. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
You sound great. You sound great. Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I feel as if we could start at the end of the show and then just start back with me, because by the time Dr. Harrison and Mother Stanley do their part, it'll be everything that you need to know. And Absolutely. We've already have some questions coming in. It says, when do you think we will achieve herd immunity? Well, we'll talk about that. I'm afraid that we may not get to herd immunity the way we're going. And I like to call it community immunity. But thank you for having me here tonight. I always cringe when people say we're going to do myth busters, because I always worry that when you talk about myths, that it's also an opportunity to perpetuate myths. But I have to say it's important that we have this discussion tonight, because a year ago, a lot of time and a lot of resources were expended to dispel the myth. And now you think about it, the myth that Black people could not catch COVID. Now think about that. That's where we were a year ago, trying to get people to understand, yes, it's a virus, and yes, Black people can get COVID. And at that time, a year ago, 1 out of every 800 Black people were dying of COVID. Not 1 every 800 Black people who had died of COVID, but 1 out of every 800 Black people walking the street were predicted to die of COVID. And as of earlier this month, 1 out of every 550 Black Americans has died of COVID. So you're talking about what a myth, a true myth it was a year ago that Black people could not get COVID. So we'll talk a little bit about myths tonight, and then we need to talk about some truths. So I want to go from the COVID virus, and we'll talk a little bit about that, to the COVID vaccine. And I'm just going to jump right into the vaccine a little bit. The COVID vaccine does not have anything in it that can change your DNA. The COVID vaccine will not make your hair longer. It will not give you horns. I'm not being funny. It will not make you impotent. It will not make you sterile. All right. The COVID vaccine, and I've done this many a times, and I'm sorry, I apologize to those of you who have seen me do this. The COVID vaccine teaches the body to recognize something called a spike protein. Now, remember, COVID has a lot of names, but the type of virus that COVID is what's called a coronavirus. A corona means crown. So the little spikes that you see around the COVID virus itself, that's the crown. And the things that are sticking out are the spike proteins. So I've used this as a little cartoon in the past. Can you see these? I'm sure you can see these sweet gum balls. I see them on my computer so you can see them. So I'm going to get real close with one of them. These little spikes are what are very similar to the spike protein of the COVID virus. The COVID vaccine tricks the body into seeing these spikes when it comes, and then putting up a shield so that these spikes do not stick in our membrane and then penetrate the membrane with the virus. The virus is, think of the virus as being the center of this ball. These little things sticking out are the spike proteins. So when you get the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine, That is made in a fashion that we call messenger RNA. And what this message does is tells the body, when you see this spike coming to you, put up your defenses, which are your antibodies, which is a shield that pushes the virus away. And it takes the body 2 lessons to learn this well. So that's why you have to have 2 shots of Pfizer and Moderna. The first one lays down the groundwork. The body makes some little fake spike proteins of its own. Your antibodies then come and kill the spike, push the spike off. The next time you get the second booster of the Pfizer or the Moderna, the body then makes up a robust antibody response. So that's why you hear some people say, the second shot, I felt a little worse than I did the first shot, or I felt a lot worse than I did the first shot. Some people got both shots, they didn't feel a thing. But remember, God made each one of us differently. So where I took mine and I was a little sick on the stomach, a little nauseated, and then the second time really nauseated and had some aches and pains and chills. Other people took it and had nothing. But when those symptoms passed, it was like you never had the shot. You didn't feel a thing. And I want people to be encouraged. They say, oh, the shot made me sick. No, the shot didn't make you sick. The shot made you feel like you were sick, but the shot made you well. And when you had those fevers and chills, that was the body really pushing up and making strong antibodies. Now, while I'm on antibodies, I want to remind any women who are planning to go for your routine mammogram, we're asking that you probably wait about a month or 45 days after that shot, because if you get your shot on this side, the lymph nodes under your arm may swell up. The lymph nodes is where the antibodies are being made. So what you don't want to do, and gentlemen, you don't have to worry about this, but ladies, you know, when we go for a mammogram, we have to reach over the plate in the x-ray. And when part of the underarm is caught in that picture, and what you don't want is swollen lymph nodes, and then the radiologist is worrying about whether this has something to do with a breast lump or breast cancer, and you start being worked up for something that is a natural reaction to the shot. So let me just tell you kind of where we are in Leon County, and we're in a very scary place in Leon County. I'm sure everyone on the line realized that the number of people who are being tested has tremendously dropped off. This time last year, we had lines wrapped around Bragg Stadium. You had lines down at Northwood. Everybody was being tested. Well, the number of people who are being tested has dropped off. The number of people who are being vaccinated has dropped tremendously. And guess what's happening? Our positivity rate is creeping back up. That's a scary thing. So if people are not being tested and people are not being vaccinated, but the positivity rate is going up, that means there are people walking the street with COVID or prone to catching COVID that we don't know about. There's more COVID out there than we know about. So a couple of statistics I just want to give you now, and I'll pass the baton to someone else. Let me put my glasses on so vanity will not be my fall down here or my downfall. In Leon County in general, for ages 16 and up, Black residents have only been vaccinated at a rate of 22%, where white residents have been vaccinated at a rate of 42%. So that's me, we're half, Blacks are half of where whites are as far as vaccination is concerned. In zip code 32304, which we know is the poorest zip code in the state of Florida, in general, only 13% of Black residents have been vaccinated. Now think about this. Think about the impact of COVID and how many of our people have died, but yet only 13% of all comers living in 32304 have been vaccinated. It's one of the poorest zip codes in the state, which also does not surprise me that only 27% of white residents living in 32304 have been vaccinated. When you look at those residents that are ages 65 and up, 52%, the population of 65 and up people in Tallahassee make up 52%. Okay, 52% of the Black residents make up the ages 65 and up. However, let me make sure I got this right. 52% of all Black residents have been vaccinated that make up age 65 and up. I'm so sorry. I don't want to confuse you. And 66% of all white residents have been vaccinated. So we're still lagging behind in that 65 age group and up. And in the 32304 and the 32310 areas, the percentage of Black residents are still lagging by almost half that have been vaccinated. This virus, listeners and viewers, is killing everyone. It's an equal opportunity killer, but it kills Black people and makes Black people sicker disproportionately than anyone else because we're starting out in the game sicker. Please consider being vaccinated. Please think about it. If you have questions, ask them. No one can make you take a vaccination. I can't run up behind you with a needle and stick you, but I can surely sit and talk with you. We can talk together. Some people have just a simple fear of a needle or just need to get their nerves up or need access. If you need us to come to you, let us know. But the first thing we want to know is we want to hear from you so that we can match and meet you where you are to see if we can bend that curve a little bit and get more people to come in. There is a question in the chat and ask, I think there'll be a third booster? And I think that there may be, because the coronavirus, the COVID virus, is just like all other coronaviruses. There are hundreds of coronaviruses in the world, but COVID-19, the one we're fighting against, mutates so quickly and so easily. And that's why it's important that we hurry and get as many people vaccinated as we can. If I have 3 people in the room and all 3 of us are vaccinated and COVID comes in, the virus can't come to me, it can't come to the other person, it can't come to the third person. That virus has to land and die or get out of the room. This is how you beat COVID. You get as many people vaccinated as possible so that the virus dies before it has a chance to mutate, so that you decrease the chance that you're going to need a booster. I think as slow as we're getting vaccinated in the United States, that we will probably need a booster. This is just me. I'm not a virologist. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I've seen this virus mutate. And if we don't hurry and get enough people vaccinated, we will need a third booster. If you need a third booster, you need a booster. We take flu shots every year. I prefer not to get another shot, but if I have to, I will. So that's my opinion. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'll take questions at the end. This has been wonderful. Someone asked me, have I been vaccinated? And if I've been vaccinated, should I continue to get tested? Only if you have symptoms. So if you've been vaccinated and you feel fine, you don't need to be tested. But if you start feeling like you have the flu, or you're stopped up, you have a fever, something just doesn't feel right, sure, go get tested.
Excellent presentation, Dr. Robinson. So many nuggets, and I love the way you describe the coronavirus, broke it down. Hey, I got to use that in the future. I appreciate that. There's some good questions coming in too. So since you said you'll hold some till the end, and they're starting to really flow. Some questions about how long do you have to wait after you've had coronavirus to get the vaccine? Is there research about why Blacks aren't getting vaccinated as much? some people get the vaccine but still get the virus. So we'll bring those back a little bit later. We'll bring up our next panelist, and then we'll come back to that.
I can't see those questions, so I apologize to whoever sent those. I would have answered them.
Okay, no problem. You want to answer them now, or should we'll come back with some?
We'll come back. Someone else may be able to answer.
Okay, we'll put them up. Thank you. Okay. Hang tight. All right, so we are looking forward to our next set of speakers. So we are welcoming Shannon Clement and her grandmother, Judy Hickson.
Yes. Welcome.
Hey, lovely lady.
How are you all?
We're wonderful.
Wonderful.
And we know you have amazing stories to share.
Yes, we do. Shannon and I, as our family of 4 generations. And in 2005, I had breast cancer and I had a lumpectomy, and it scared the hell out of me. It wasn't the fact that I had breast cancer, it was the medication, the chemo and the radiation. You know how you listen to other people, what their experiences are and what they have gone through with those 2 medications. I was a little hesitant, and then something says, okay, you have grandbabies that you truly love, that make you so happy. You have a husband that's fantastic, and you have a job that is amazing. So you need to, and you have life and faith. So I had the chemo and I had 38 sessions of radiation. And that was 2005. So I have been cancer-free for 16 years. When it came to the coronavirus, here I am again. I have not worked in the office since March of last year, and was just waiting to get the vaccine. In December, when it was decided that, okay, I think it's going to be granted the access to certain medications. So I started putting my name on all of these websites to get the vaccine. I did not hesitate. I wanted it. I needed it for my own sanity, for my children, because number one, I had not seen them in so long. And my travels to Tallahassee was like every 6 months, or if I wake up this morning and decided to go to Tallahassee, I would go because I needed to see them. So I had my vaccine in January, and I was in Tallahassee in March. And I just feel that if you're hesitant about having it done, think about life itself. Think that God has given you the strength to actually have it, to do good for yourself, your family, and your community, and worry about the consequences later, because everything comes with a price. It's just what you're willing to do to get things done. And that's what we decided to do. That's what I decided to do. My husband and myself, we got our vaccines, we saw our babies, and we're good to go. Shannon?
Yes, and just to add on to that, I just remember that period of time, just not being able to see her or not being able to see my mother also, who actually lives here in Tallahassee, but has some underlying conditions. And so she was at a point where she was just scared to go outside and scared to be around people, even her family. So as soon as it was available to her, she was trying to get it so that she would be able to have those connections and be able to spend time with us and be able to go to work and go to the grocery store without having that fear of being exposed to the virus. So I just would like to add that. And I do remember Mama calling. She was planning on hitting the road and coming to Bond Community Health Center to get her vaccine if she didn't, she wasn't able to get on those waiting lists in Miami because it was such a long wait. So I remember that time, and I'm so glad that now we have that confidence as a family that we're all vaccinated.
That is awesome. You know, that is such a beautiful story. And we're going to bring everybody up together later to maybe like ask you all some questions as a family, what that's like. But just to hear you talk about the cross generations and how the vaccine allowed you all to be together, is huge.
Yes.
It's huge. And I love the way Dr. Robinson talked about, getting the vaccine gives you freedom. You can see your families, you can be around each other and not worry that you're going to infect each other or make other people sick. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You're so cool. You're welcome.
Yes. So we're going to bring up our next panelist that we're going to bring up is Mr. Christopher Jones. Mr. Christopher Jones. Welcome, Mr. Jones.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Pleasure
welcome.
to be here.
Absolutely. So we'd love to hear your story, and I know you're going to share that perspective for people who may be younger and thinking about, hey, I'm healthy, I'm free, I don't need the vaccine.
Exactly.
So we appreciate you sharing your perspective. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So I'm 31 years old, and I'm what I would consider a healthy young man. And there's this misconception that because you're young, you can beat the virus. And for me, working in healthcare, and immediately when we started working from home, I was still working here in the office. We were still having patients, in limited numbers, but we still had patients on site, and I'm still interacting with my coworkers and whatnot. So there was a level of anxiety for me because I suffer from like chronic allergies, and I almost annually get bronchitis or pneumonia. So having those that history of breathing issues, I didn't want to contract the virus. It was very scary for me. So when they announced that the vaccines were available for the staff here at Bond Community Health Center, I was a little leery about getting the vaccine, but immediately after getting over that, I just thought about it. I'm like, okay, if I get this vaccine, it'll protect me, it'll protect those around me, and I don't have to have that fear hanging over my head that if I feel like I'm breathing differently or I'm feeling warm, whatever the case may be, I'm not thinking immediately that's a symptom of the virus. So I felt like it was my duty, not only for myself, but for the community and my coworkers and family. Kind of like what Shannon and Mama said, it makes you feel better knowing you can be around your loved ones, knowing that you're safe, they're safe, So that was a big component of the reason why I did decide to get the vaccine. So yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love what I love how you're emphasizing this connectivity with family and how we can be
Definitely
safe and feel comfortable around our families. And then everybody in Tallahassee knows about those, like, I don't know if you want to call it Tallahassee springtime, Tallahassee weather change, pollen, whatever, the allergies every year. And just being in healthcare is scary. Every day you're like, wait, are these sniffles the regular allergies, the sneezing? Is this from COVID, or is this from, what's happening? So I definitely could relate to what you're talking about as far as the vaccine and just having that peace of mind for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. So hang tight. We're going to have some questions. Listen, if you have questions for Christopher Jones, he's got some answers for you. So please get your questions ready. We're going to welcome Mother Stanley up to share with us a little bit about her experience, which is unique, but also very powerful. So here we come, Mother Stanley.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I give Dr. Robinson thanks for encouraging me to take the shot. I am 85 years old. I was a patient advocate here at Bond, where I mingled with almost all the patients, very active in my food pantry, where I have a lot of people that I'm around, plus my children and family. I am a 2-time cancer survivor, thinking about the negative things and the possibility of spreading it to other people, and they said the older of us are most susceptible. However, I was feeling good, thought it was like a kind of healthy. Nevertheless, I am 85. I did get the shot in December. I had very little problems. Next day I drove to Atlanta. I did the driving in Atlanta, and I drove part way back. Very little symptoms that I almost forgot I got the shot. Then on my birthday, the 27th of January, I got the second shot, and I don't recall any problems at all. Still was working in the food pantry, still can't stay home because I had things that I was committed to. So I knew that I was not going to be at home all the time. So with the encouragement and the negative in my health, I felt like it was best to get the shot. My thing is, it's best to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So I am so glad I got it. And I have been encouraging the rest of us old people, a lot of us old people, to get the shot. Just get it in case. A lot of them said that it came out too fast. They had some negative feelings about it. I tried to encourage them that being this age, and I didn't have that many problems. Hopefully and prayerfully they would get the shot and not have that many problems where it would be incapacitate them. So I am glad I got it. I'm glad it's over with. And if there is a booster, I'm ready for that also.
Mother Stanley, that is so good.
Yes.
If there's a booster, you're ready for that too. But I love your fearlessness, and I think we can learn a lot from your wisdom, your experience, your 85 years young experience.
Yeah,
pretty amazing. You look great, by the way, and people are saying they remember you in the chat, so that's nice as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to bring everybody up to join you so we can get our questions going. And what I'll encourage everyone to do is if we're getting a little reverb, to turn your volume down a little bit. Oh, Dr. Harrison. Yeah. Wait, we have to have Dr. Harrison speak first. So 1 second.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to welcome Dr. Harrison. Sorry about that.
No, there's no problem. It's a pleasure to be a part of this forum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All righty. Well, if you guys are tuning in, you guys already have the right mindset. And just to hear the statistics that Dr. Robinson put out, we have to take it even a step further to get our neighbors to the left and the right of us on board as well. And to touch on, today I'm just going to touch on a few things about the vaccine itself. And we'll take a basic look at a couple of things like how they work, the efficacy, the side effects, the storage requirements for those who are actually providing the vaccine. I'm sorry, I have my little sidekick here with me. She usually sleep, but she didn't want to miss the forum as well. And just a little bit about the vaccine and how they work. Dr. Robinson talked. She did a great presentation about the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine. Like she said, they both use the mRNA, the messenger RNA technology, which used the gene sequence from the SARS COVID-19 vaccine that codes for the protein, that spike protein that she mentioned, which is like a fingerprint for the virus that allows the virus to attach to the cell. And what the scientists did, they took that protein and put it into a lipid nanoparticle, a small little particle. And this nanoparticle, when injected into the body, sends a signal to the immune system to make these antibodies. And the main difference between the Pfizer and the Moderna, opposed to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, is the way they're carried to the body, or the carrier of the spike protein to the body. And the carrier, like we said, for the Pfizer and Moderna, is the lipid nanoparticle. And with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it's an inactivated adenovirus vector, which is like the common cold, and they attach that protein to the vector. But in a sense, overall, they both have a similar pathway to the end goal of telling the body to produce an immune response that will have that protein build immunity throughout the body. And of course, we know that both the Pfizer and the Moderna have a 2-dose series, get separated by 21 and 28 days, and the Johnson & Johnson is a 1-dose series, which may be a plus for some people. And just a quick fun fact for us, but it's real important to those who are providing the vaccine and handling the vaccine, the storage requirements, the Pfizer needs to be stored at ultra cold temperatures in an ultra cold freezer, stored at about negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit, as opposed to Moderna being stored in the regular freezer, a regular vaccine freezer at about negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit. And one popular topic that comes about when we're comparing the vaccines is the efficacy rate of the three. We can see that the Pfizer and the Moderna have close to about a 95% efficacy rate, opposed to the Johnson & Johnson, which is about 66 to 72% effective. However, these numbers don't really tell the full story of the efficacy. And here's why. One being both the Pfizer and the Moderna looks at the effectiveness of preventing any COVID-19, whereas the Johnson & Johnson trials were a little bit more specific in what they were considering in their trials, which kind of brought their numbers down opposed to their competitors. Also, both the Pfizer and the Moderna trials were done in the U.S., whereas the Johnson & Johnson trials were done in the U.S., but they also took place in multiple countries like Brazil and South Africa, and done it at a much later time where we start to see these variants. And just to put these numbers into perspective and how effective they are against the COVID-19 virus, the annual flu shot that we take is about 40 to 50% effective. So when we look at vaccine rates, the main things that we want to consider is to prevent the virus itself, but the main thing we want to look at is to reduce the severe cases and hospitalizations that we see and the deaths that we're seeing among our community. And we see that when we compare these numbers, we have a more even playing field when it comes to efficacy rate. And me personally, when I can consider the comparison, I would say the best shot is the one that's provided to you at that time, because time is paramount when we are considering reducing the spread of the virus and bringing this pandemic to an end. And a couple of the other hosts or panelists already mentioned some of the side effects that you may see with either of the vaccines. Pain at the injection site that you will have with any vaccine, headaches, fevers, fatigue, chills, and muscle aches. And like Dr. Robinson said, most of the reported cases of these side effects came after the second dose, and these are due to the body's natural response and building these antibodies. And just to close out, for the people who are hesitant about the vaccine or who are all out against getting it at all, I think you should really take a hard look at your risk of yourself if you were to contract the virus. And if that's not enough for you to make that decision, at least consider those who are around you that you love and are in close contact with on a daily basis.
That's so good.
Excellent information.
Yeah.
Excellent information.
I love your closing statement. If you don't want to think about other people around you, and I think that's the message that, get the vaccine, get it for you. But if you don't want to get it for you, get it for other people.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So hang tight. We're going to bring you back. We have lots of people giving hearts and great points and things like that, and lots of questions getting ready for our panelists.
Yes,
so that's good, good stuff.
Yes.
So Pastor Greg and I will tell our story just briefly, and then we'll bring everybody back up.
Absolutely. So, of course, Dr. Joe, being a doctor, she got the vaccine very early. And then even as a ministry, we made the decision to stop having services in person. At the very, I don't know exactly the month we started doing that, but maybe around April or something of last year, we made that decision. And we made that decision because, again, when you look at the risks, I know too many pastors, too many apostles, too many bishops who unfortunately passed away because of the virus. I know too many churches that somebody got it and it spread throughout the entire congregation. I know of too many people who attended a funeral or attended a wedding or something like that, and so many people got it. And so when we weighed the risks of somebody possibly getting it, and ultimately, sadly, maybe possibly even passing away, it was a very easy decision to decide not to have in-person worship services. So we went online. And it was a great decision to make. And we're now discussing on when we're going to get back into the sanctuary. Even with me personally, Dr. Joe had gotten the vaccine early. And, I was in December. Mm-hmm. And I was like many of other people. I was very skeptical. I didn't hear a lot. I heard her talk about it a lot. But, didn't hear a lot about it. And, you have so many voices. So you got what you hear on the news, you have what the response of what people are saying to what they hear in the news, and then social media. I'm a techie, so I'm on all the social media outlets. So you hear all of the information, the good information and the misinformation. There were so many myths. There were so many people saying so many different things. So we were being bombarded, if you will, by information. But once I really understood how it worked, how the vaccine worked, all the myth busters, I think Dr. Robinson and Dr. What's the other? Harrison had also talked about, the things, it's not going to do this, it's not going to do this, it's going to protect you from the virus. Once I understood those, and I had, enough education, that I said, you know what, I'm going to get the virus as well. I mean, get the vaccine.
The vaccine,
not the virus, but get the vaccine as well. And like so many people have said, it's so important because my father is in his 90s, so I wanted to be able to see him and not be able to be fearful possibly of giving him the virus. That would have been horrible, because, you can be, what do you call it, asymptomatic. So I didn't want to do that. So for myself, for my own health, as well as my loved ones, I wanted to make sure that I was protected. And when I weighed the risks, when I see on television and hear all the stories of people who've gotten it, I know people who've gotten it, I know people who've passed away, and their account of how it felt and what they had to go through, I was like, no, I don't want to go through that. And if a vaccine is going to keep me from having to experience that, I definitely want to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Pastor Rick, for sharing that perspective. I think that's
Absolutely.
important because not everybody wants to get it right away. We get that, but now we're in a different place. And even when Pastor Rick's talking about going back, a lot of us are going back to work, going back to school, going back to all these different things, worshiping together. And some people are already worshiping together, but you just have a different kind of freedom. Doesn't affect our faith. It just makes us stronger, to walk by faith and walk in love and those kinds of things. So we're going to welcome everybody back. We're going to share some of the questions that the audience has for us.
All right,
Hi again, Dr. Robinson, Dr. Harrison, come back, Mr. Jones. Yes, Mother Stanley. Yes, Mama, and Miss Clement. Okay. All right, so let's put some questions up for you.
All right. Well, we'll have questions all throughout. We'll go ahead and answer some of the ones we have at the top. Let's see here. Okay, I'm trying to find. Is there one that you, okay. Well, I'll just ask this one. Okay, so Brother Jimmy says, it's 61 days since my wife and kids and I have COVID. Do we still need to wait 90 days until we get the shot?
Looks like Dr. Robinson's taking this one with her chin.
Yes, I'm sorry. I put it on mute trying to help some of the feedback. If everyone is asymptomatic, you don't need to wait 90 days to get your shot. You can go on in and get your shot. So I'm glad, I'm sorry you had it, but I'm glad that you're over it. And I will go ahead and get vaccinated. Someone else asked earlier about allergies. I saw someone asking questions about allergies. If you have regular allergies to seafood or pollen or food allergies, that does not stop you or preclude you from being able to get the COVID vaccine. The allergies that we worry about when people go get the COVID vaccine are people who have had severe, what we call anaphylactic reactions to other vaccines. Not you got so nervous when you went to get the shot that you fainted. That's not an allergic reaction. That's I got so tight and so anxious that I fainted. Because the COVID vaccines, they have very little in them. They have some fat, some water, some salt, and something called PEG, polyethylene glycol. And that's what we think people are having bad reactions to. And the number of reactions have been extremely small. And Dr. Joe, you probably would know, or Dr. Harrison, I want to say the reactions were something like 3 in a million. We've had very few anaphylactic reactions from this vaccine. So if you have regular food allergies and so forth, please go ahead and get the vaccine. And that person also asked about asthma. If you have asthma, you surely should be going to get the vaccine. People with asthma and lung conditions do very poorly with the COVID infection. So I encourage you to get it. And I will say one more thing, and then I'll let someone else answer the question. We were talking about myths earlier, and I heard something that really almost broke my heart to hear that a lot of people are telling folk not to get the COVID vaccine because of something called viral shedding. That is an old-timey thing. When we used to give live virus, and we would tweak live virus a little bit to give someone a vaccine. So like we used to say, the hair of the dog that bit you. The COVID vaccine is not given with a live virus. Remember, we talked about that. Again, you're not getting any virus, so you're not shedding any virus. People are saying, if you get a COVID vaccine, the person stands by you, they'll catch COVID. That's not what we're doing. So Pfizer and Moderna, no live virus, period. Okay. Johnson & Johnson is what we call a dummy virus. It's the kind of virus that's on your skin, up your nose, in your body all the time that will never make you sick. So please get vaccinated.
Great, great, great. Any other comments about that? Does Dr. Harrison or does anybody else want to add to what Dr. Robinson said? Okay, here's a much covered. She covered it. Okay. Here's a good question. Is, you know, Azizi Coleman says, I'm a little late to the convo, but does research show why Blacks aren't receiving the vaccine? So I think several of you could comment on that if you desire.
Well, I think it's because of location. You know, like Dr. Robertson was stating in her statement, certain zip codes don't have access, they're not knowledgeable, they have no education about what is going on. Therefore, and when they do get information, they're hesitant. And a lot of, as you know, a lot of Black people are just afraid to go to the doctor, period. When they do go to the doctor, whatever is happening with them is to the point that there's no repair for whatever it is. You know, they have waited too long to go. And I think it's the same thing with this virus. We're so afraid that it's going to hurt us, the vaccine is going to hurt us, versus just walking with it, spreading the virus and not thinking things thoroughly. I think that's just me. I hear a lot of my neighbors saying, well, I don't know why you had it, because it's just going to hurt you. The same thing like when I was talking about cancer. The myth is the medication that you're going to get, the chemo, is going to hurt you. Yes, it's going to hurt, but it's going to make you better too. So you have to weigh the odds, and some of us don't. And that's just how it is. Some Black Americans just don't want to weigh the odds.
Thank you, Mama. That was great.
And if I can just add a little, not quite for the original question, but just playing on that fear. I've experienced that myself, even working in healthcare, about taking the vaccine, but being able to see other people like Dr. Robinson and our staff, you know, take the vaccine, and it just gives you that confidence when you see other people that look like you take the vaccine as well. So it's been very helpful and gave me confidence to take it myself.
Yes.
That's so true. And that's, you know, part of this whole, and Dr. Harrison, you can speak next, part of this whole panel. Everybody on this panel has had the vaccine, had different experiences with it, different experiences getting to it. And we probably had different vaccines. We didn't really talk about that, but we did all get the vaccine. So I think of all of you out there who are like, I don't know anybody who had the vaccine, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, all these people that had the vaccine, and we can really share our experiences coming, you know, since December when the vaccine was available in our area. Dr. Harrison?
Yeah, I did want to add a little tidbit to the question. I know education is a big part of why people are receiving the vaccine or aren't receiving the vaccine. And one of the drawbacks of education is where you receive your education. Some people don't trust all education, and where you receive the education is paramount. Some people don't trust on mainstream media, on the news. So having platforms like this is paramount.
Absolutely. And Violet Spates commented made that very same comment in the chat, that this kind of forum is paramount for people to get information that they can trust.
Absolutely.
We have another great question that we'll jump to, and then anybody can jump in on this. This is from Cookie Ashby. She says, how is it that some individuals get vaccinated but still get the virus?
You want me to take it?
Sure.
Well, there are a lot of reasons. One, you remember the first place we go to test for COVID is in the nose. So I always tell people, if you wear a mask, wear the mask all the way up, because if you just wear it here, it's kind of like putting on your underwear and not pulling them all the way up. Coronavirus is everywhere. Everywhere. It's in the air. But what the vaccine does, it protects the coronavirus from penetrating the body. And if it should happen to penetrate, let's say you walk into a coronavirus soup, if you will, that you have antibodies that you can fight off the worst of the symptoms, so that you don't become extremely ill, so that you don't go into the hospital and that you don't die. It's just like you get a flu shot. You may get a flu shot and still get the flu, but you won't get the type of flu that makes you feel like you've been hit by a truck and you can't move. So, there's nothing 100% in the world. Now, the makers of the vaccines are saying 100% that you won't die from COVID, but they're not saying it's 100% that you won't get COVID. But the odds of your getting COVID tremendously diminished if you get vaccinated. And we've had very few what we call breakthrough cases of COVID in this area. And those are the cases of COVID where people are sick and they have to go to the hospital. And those few were people who were vaccinated, but they had some kind of weird variant, a new variant. And that's why we have to hurry and get everybody vaccinated. We've got to outrun these mutations so you don't have so many breakthrough cases.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah. The other thing that I'll just add to what you said, which is just a little bit around, the vaccine efficacy is what people call it. Like, how effective is the vaccine? So there's so many variables as to the effectiveness, but we know that it's 90-something% effective. I mean, we have new studies now that are in live people showing that the vaccine is really, really good at protecting you from getting it, but it's not 100%. There's still maybe 10% or 6% or 5%, depending on the vaccine, or maybe even more, depending on which one you get. But what we know is that, like you said, it prevents you from getting super sick from it, prevents you from dying from it at a very, very, very high rate, very high rate. And if you do get sick, usually don't get as sick.
And I want our people, and I say our people of color, to be encouraged. Black folk helped to make this vaccine. Black doctors studied this vaccine. The vaccine manufacturers halted the manufacturing of this to make sure that we had a representative percentage of Black people in the clinical trials, and enough Hispanic people in the clinical trials, and enough people of all ages in the clinical trials. Then the NMA, which is the Black AMA, came out and said, these vaccines are good to go for our people. We just didn't get a vaccine that was just tested on somebody else and they said, well, give it to Black people too. No, we made these vaccines. And we were in the clinical trials.
Such an important point.
That's an excellent point.
Excellent point. Yeah. Excellent point. Other comments on that comment or that question? Any other comments on that?
No, man.
Not yet. Okay. Well, we have time for a couple more questions. We're going to ask this one. This is a little different, but I think it's good just to add some perspective. It says, what do you really take to strengthen your immune system? This is from Angelica Jackson. And the type of vitamins, because people say, take this, take that. What can we really take? And we've heard vitamin C, we've heard zinc, we've heard, take some, all kinds of things. Green tea extract, lots of stuff out there. So what are you all's thoughts on that?
All of that's great. Eat well. Eat well.
You know, and that's true. When you talk about the basic prevention. Oh, Mother Hickson, I'll let you go, Miss Hickson.
And now I was just saying, adding on to eat well, but exercise too.
Yes.
Even if you can't get out and walk on the pavement, you can, walk around your house, walk around your yard, do various things, to help you, because you need to exercise and get that body going, get those bloods flowing. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And the other two things I would add, so we're kind of we're pinning them all together. So Dr. Robinson said, eat well, get your nutrition, get your veggies in, all that good stuff. Ms. Hickson said, hey, you got to do some exercise, which is absolutely important. You have to sleep. That's what I'll add to this. You have to sleep well, right? You need to get some rest. And then the other thing I throw in there is mental health, so you want to deal with your stress, those kinds of things. So yeah, when you try to boost your immune system, go ahead.
I'll even add something in there just to avoid things that's going to diminish your immune system. So, bacon and donuts every day is not going to be a good thing if you want to stay healthy.
That's a good point. Other comments on that? Did you want to jump in, Mr. Jones or Dr. Harrison?
Oh, no, Dr. Robinson took the words out of my mouth. I was going to mention diet.
Diet. Okay, that's good. Very good. There's another question I saw here about, this is good. What are the long-term effects of the vaccine? Long-term effects of the vaccine?
Well, personally, I can speak on that.
Awesome.
It's kind of hard to say the long-term effects of the vaccine, just because it is a novel vaccine. It's new. It's new to everybody, even the ones that's making it. What we can say, or what we can look at, is past vaccines. I mean, this vaccine is not that much different from the vaccines that have been put out in the past. So the only thing that we can look at is past vaccines, because the long-term effects we can't see, because it's a new virus and the studies are still going on. And the way the clinical trials are set up is an ongoing clinical trial. So the clinical trials aren't finished. It's an ongoing thing. So we're still looking at the effectiveness and still looking at the long-term effects of the vaccine.
Awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that point about, it's a new, this whole thing is new in a sense, right? But these kinds of viruses have been out for a really, really long time. And these types of vaccines have been used for a really long time. So we do have the history of knowing about that. Great points. Yes. Other comments about that? Oh, please.
I just want to add a comment. Earlier, we discussed that African Americans or Black Americans were twice as likely to die of COVID and half as likely to get vaccinated if someone wasn't tuning in. I mean, so that right there it's not a long term, but that's a right now effect that's going on. We are twice as likely to die compared to our white counterparts. So.
Shannon, that was so good. You're like, look, you can think about the long-term effects, but what we're dealing with is reality right now, that people of color are dying at higher rates than non-people of color. And that's so important to know. Yeah. Here's one last question. And then I'll have maybe Dr. Robinson give some closing thoughts. So this is a question on, with different mutations to the virus, will that require additional vaccines? That's a good question. Thank you, Azizi.
We think so. We think so. But right now, and that's the beauty of the especially the RNA vaccines. They are so amenable to change. People say, oh, they made them so fast, this Operation Warp Speed and so forth. Well, that technology has been around a long time. What was the miracle of this was that they were able to take that messenger RNA technology and put it to the vaccine. So I say, yes, it was fast, but it was not rushed. Dr. Joe, what we were taught, if someone called a code blue in the hospital, you went quickly, but you never rushed in a code, because you have to be able to think. So, Yes, I do think that we will probably either see that vaccine tweaked a little bit, especially if some of these wild variants come, and what we have now is not strong enough to give us a kind of immunity that we need.
Yes, very good. And we do know that some of the variants are covered by the vaccine so
Yes.
far. Now we need more information. Dr. Harrison?
No, I definitely agree with Dr. Robinson. I do think that we will have to do some type of booster shot. I'm not sure if it'll be annual or just one more booster. That's still out there in the air. But like we said earlier, the best thing we can do is outrun the virus, outrun the mutations right now, so we can limit the chances of us having to do the booster vaccines.
Yeah, I think that's so important, really getting that vaccine in the system so that we can prevent and get as many people covered as possible. You know, the data that we have so far is showing up to 6 months that immunity is still lasting. So that's really good, you know. So I'm sure as time goes on, we'll be getting more and more data. So we have one last question. I know we're at 7:30, but I think this is appropriate, just timely. It says this from Jody Brown. The news just came out saying the vaccine is now safe for 12 and up. I was waiting for that question, right, Dr. Robinson? Do you know if that will affect Tallahassee?
Yes, the Pfizer vaccine will be given in Tallahassee to ages 12 and up. We have ordered some at Bond. Ours has not come in, but I know several of the health centers as well as pharmacy. Are you going to have Pfizer this weekend?
Yes.
I think we're just waiting on that final T to be crossed, and we'll be ready to go, 12 and up. Of course, children cannot get vaccinated without parental consent. So this would be a good time for a family to have that conversation. And if the mom or dad has put off getting their vaccine, then you can come together now as a family and be vaccinated. This is going to be a game changer if we can get as many children and adolescents and young adults vaccinated.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's do a quick round robin. Just one last comment, like if there's anything you can tell somebody, one thing, one statement that you'd like to say. I know we talked a little bit about younger people in the Tallahassee area. We are doing fairly well with 65 and older, although we haven't got 100%. But that group that's under 50, that 49 and under, we really need you all to think about how can you get the vaccine? Where can you get it? You know, if you have questions tonight, like we said, go ahead and get them answered so that you can, you know, feel more peaceful about getting the vaccine. So one last comment from each person. So we'll just go to my right. So, and we'll come back to you last, Dr. Robinson. So Dr. Harrison, one last comment for people.
One last comment is just take this education that that you're getting from us or getting from the wherever sources you're getting from and spread it. People are more inclined to listen to those who look like you or people that you trust. So it's our responsibility to spread the information.
Absolutely.
My last comment would be that thank you for the vast amount of information that I've been given, so I can encourage a lot of the older of us not to be afraid to take it, because some of them are saying, as someone said earlier, that it was put out too fast, and they seem to think it might cause some abnormalities. You're gonna grow extra nose or something. So with the information, I can encourage them that the nose more than likely won't grow and they can take the shot.
Thank you, Mother Stanley. Mr. Jones.
Yes. First off, thank you for having me. And if I had to leave on a closing note, it would be use this time that we're unfortunately in to think about outside of yourself. You know, think about your neighbor, think about your neighbor's neighbors. Like everyone you come in contact with during, you know, these next coming months, year, whatever, you know, the time span is, could potentially hurt a life or take a life, you know. So I think that we should definitely take advantage of this time and make the best of it we can by, you know, getting vaccinated.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very thoughtful comment.
Excellent.
Thank you. Mama Hickson.
I would say think of others. If you have doubt, contact your physician, get the scientific information from him or her, but most of all, get the vaccine. It's most important for you, your loved ones, and your friends.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ms. Clement? Oh, you're on mute.
I have a lot going on right here, but everyone hit the points, but we just came out of a crazy year. It was a lot for a lot of people, and we're handed the remedy to getting things back to normal. So I just ask that we take advantage of it with information that we have. Let's take advantage of it so that we can reopen our businesses, so that we can spend time with our families, so that we can get back to work and serving each other. So let's do it.
Let's do it. I love it. Pastor Greg?
Well, I so appreciate this panel. I so appreciate all these wonderful doctors, all these excellent perspectives, because like Dr. Harrison said, it's forums like this that's going to not only build trust, but inform people the right way, instead of getting your information on social media. But I would also add to that, for, again, people of color, what has added to our effectiveness as far as us getting the virus so much is underlying health conditions. So for those African Americans or those people of color that you have underlying conditions, you definitely want to get the vaccine to make sure that in the event, again, that you contract the virus, it does not affect, you don't die from it. And when we talk about the vaccine, you want to make sure that you don't die. So I think that's also an important point.
Thank you, Pastor Greg.
Indeed.
All right, Dr. Robinson.
Well, I'll say something very simple. We are blessed to have 3 vaccines in our community. 3. Pick one and get one. Pick one and get one. This is a miracle of science. And people talk about science, and they always want to pit science against religion, pit science against God. And I always remind everyone, God made science and God made scientists. We have 3 good vaccines. Pick one and get one.
I love it.
I love that.
Why don't you guys put that in the chat? Pick one and get one.
Yes.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, as we end, we really just wanted to make sure that people were aware that we've got this great event coming up where you can get the vaccine if you want it. It's called COVID TKO. Let's knock out COVID. You can come to a vaccine drive-through. You can sign up on the website, covidtko.com if you'd like, or you can just show up May 15th, 9 to 2 p.m. at University Ministries, 2640 Old Bainbridge Road. There's going to be free food, giveaways, access to mental health resources, and lots of things to talk about and just share about. We're so excited about having this opportunity through the Leon County COVID-19 Task Force, Florida Department of Health, Second Harvest, Astoria Park, Powerhouse Church, Destiny Church, so many people, Kappa Alpha Psi, that have really just partnered up with us, and our amazing speakers from Bond Community Health Center, and not to mention University Ministries, who's been working really hard to bring this program to you. So thank you so much, everyone. Super excited about having this opportunity to share this with you. And we are looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yes. As we said at the very beginning, please tag somebody in this and share this. We've had a wonderful panel of doctors, a wonderful panel of people sharing their experiences. This is awesome information. Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody that that's kind of on the fence, that kind of still, teeter-tottering, saying, I don't know if I'm going to get it, please tag them in this. Please share them. Please tell them to go to the page, watch the broadcast, so that they can get really good information about the vaccine and about the virus.
Yes, thank you so much, Pastor Greg. We have enjoyed spending this hour and 10 minutes with you, and we wish you a great evening and a great rest of the week. And remember, get one.
Pick one,
get one.
Get one.
Pick one, get one.
God bless.
God bless.